every day is so wonderful, and suddenly it's hard to breathe. Now and then I get insecure from all the pain.
One of the greatest issues in ethics, and that is the issue about crime. So we will be answering questions regarding to what is a crime and who are these people committing crime and what are the kinds of crime. So at this moment, I want you to focus and give your time so that you can understand the theology of crime in the field of ethics. By the way, what is a crime? Crime is anything that is being done contrary to the law or against the law. So simply saying, you are committing a crime if you are not following the law or directly transgressing the law. Now, what are the two kinds of crime? Now, if you are not familiar with this, you will be lost in this discussion because the only common kinds of crime are the committed crimes. But seldom do we hear that there are two kinds of crime, the committed crime and the omitted crime. So we will give examples of each so that you will understand the two types of crime. So first, let us take up the committed crime. From the word commit, these are the kinds of crimes wherein a person did something to disobey the law, or a person has to do an action in order to transgress the law. So an example of this is when a person is sleeping and then another person without any reason get a wood and drop it on the head of the person sleeping, and the person sleeping have an intracranial hemorrhage, and that person was brought to the hospital and the person died. If you noticed, from the stage of normality, this person who carried the wood with him dropped the wood, committed that thing by dropping the wood to the person sleeping without any reason, and that is a commission of something that is against the law or that is against normality. In this sense of the word, we call this as committed crime or crime of commission. On the contrary, there is another kind of crime. The crimes that are committed because we did not do anything, so something happened. We call this as the omitted crimes or the crimes of omission. In the crime of omission, a person is supposed to do something, but he or she failed to do that thing. That's why something came out or a crime happened. Now let me give you an example on this. Example, a nurse is supposed to visit the patient Q2 or every 2 hours in the language of a layperson. So, whatever happens, there should be a 2 hours visit. You will not put the person in a 2 hours visit if the person is not critical or needs urgent care. Now, because of some busyness in the station, the nurse forgot to visit the patient, and she only remembered to visit the patient only after 4 hours already. So upon remembering this one, the nurse rushed to the room of the patient, and she saw the patient already stiff, the patient not breathing. The nurse felt for the pulse of the patient, but the patient has no more pulse. To make the long story short, the patient died. Now, if the nurse could have done something by visiting the patient in the 2 hours interval, the patient could have been saved because there was an intervention in the chart which is 2 hours. But because the nurse failed to do something that needs to be done, the nurse here has committed a crime, and that crime is negligence. So by now, I hope you already understand the two kinds of crime. Again, what are they? The crime of commission and the crime of omission. Commission means there was an action that made it wrong. Omission means there was no action, that's why it resulted to something wrong. Now, let us go to the participants of the crime. So, who are the people involved in a crime? Well, take for instance, there is a planning of the person who will steal something from the house. Now, the persons who masterminded this one, who planned this one, and those who will go at that instant to steal something from that house are what we call as the principals. They are the principal criminals. Now, these are the people who belong to the first types of criminals. The second, example, a person may not be in the actual crime scene, but the person knows of the plan and the person helped these people to commit the crime, then the person is called an accomplice. Now, an example to this is, if the person have these robbers borrowed his car, or if the person was the one who entered that house and took videos of the house for him to get a schematic diagram and give it to the actual robbers. Now, you call this person aiding the robbery by knowing the actual plan as the accomplice. Now, the third and the last criminal or crime participant is the accessory. So what are the accessories? Accessories may not necessarily know of the criminal plan or the crime itself. The accessories are just contacted by the accomplice or the principals on the day of the crime, and they were able to do something that will make the criminals escape liability. Sometimes these accessories do this for favors such as money, and sometimes for offers such as position and favors. Now, in this situation, when the robbers are already done robbing the house, then this person contacted by the principal to burn all the things that are there that can support the thumb mark of the robbers. And the person burned that one. You call this person as an accessory to the crime. Why? Because he deleted something that may lead investigators to the actual crime reality or the truth of the crime. So again, we have the three kinds of participants in a crime, which makes them as criminals. So the principal, the accomplice, and the accessories. Let us go now into the act of committing crime, or into the crime itself. How will a crime become a crime? Now, there are two things needed to associate one action to become a crime. Number one, there should be a criminal intent or an intention with criminality. There is a thinking to commit a crime. You call that criminal intent. Number two, there should be a criminal action. Something you do that resulted to a crime. So let me make this clear again. Without an intent and an action, the thing that was done cannot be called a crime. Intent alone without action is never a crime. Action alone without intent cannot also be qualified as a crime. So there should be criminal intent and criminal act for one crime to be committed. I hope the little background I have given you in terms of knowing what is a crime and what are the ethical ramifications of a crime. By the way, before I forget, every crime has its own punishment. And when you call it a criminal offense, most of the time it is always penalized by imprisonment. If the capital crime is death, then it can be punishable by death. But in the Philippines, we have a moratorium on the death penalty. That means the highest form of criminal punishment in our country now is only reclusión perpetua or life imprisonment. Now, dear online learners, I hope you have understand this simple introduction regarding the topic of crime. Now, how do you relate ethics with crime? Well, if the definition of crime is doing something against the law, then ethically, our responsibility as people is to do something within the law that is more ethical, and that is the only way not to result to a crime. So what is the most ethical thing to do again? Do not do something against the law for you not to commit a crime and to remain ethical. Thank you for listening to the Instructor's Compass, and I hope you will learn more in the next topics that we will be tackling. Again, this is the Instructor's Compass, and this is Sir Noy Gonzaga, your online instructor. God bless.